Thank you, Chairman. I'm a member of Health Scrutiny, but I can't speak for the County Council's Health Scrutiny Committee today because we haven't considered it. So, as other speakers have said, I'm grateful to Darlington for putting on this opportunity to consider the plan. I am perhaps on firmer ground in speaking for the residents of Teesdale. I represent Barnard Castle West Division on the County Council, which is essentially up the dale from Barnard Castle. So you'd expect me to be concerned about the geography of these proposals as a main concern. My concern about the STP process generally is that it is too focused on the Tees Valley, and particularly the urban Tees Valley, and seems to think of the Tees Valley entirely as one continuous urban area, and the rural areas of Durham and North Yorkshire as surrounding areas and not significant areas in themselves. And it's my firm opinion that the geography of this area needs to be the deciding factor in any changes. Arguably, it matters more to people up in the Dales than it does to people in Darlington that a full range of emergency services be retained at Darlington. Because for us, it's not just a matter of convenience, it's not just having another 15, 20-minute bus ride down to another hospital. It could potentially be a matter of life and death. Now, I know that the NHS powers that be say that it's the eventual treatment that you receive that matters, not the time taken to get there, but that must have, as a matter of logic, that must have a limit. Otherwise, we'd say we'd have an A&E centre in London, and it doesn't matter that you take the train, or in New York or wherever. So as a matter of logic, there must be a limit to how far travel times don't matter. So I'm going to just give you a few travel times. These are from the AA, but as a lifelong resident of Teesdale, I can verify them. From Eggleston, where I live, to Darlington, it's a 33-minute drive. From Middleton in Teesdale, 40 minutes. Harwood in Teesdale, 55 minutes. And you can add, if you're going to North Tees, another, 15, 20 minutes on from here. And that's all assuming sort of reasonably open roads, no winter issues, etc., etc. But of course, you aren't starting from that time point. You've got to add on the ambulance response time to the journey time, and you may have a very long wait for that. Now, by no means I would say that this is an event that happens every week, but it's certainly a headline in the local paper, the Mercury, 2 or 3 times a year. Seriously ill heart-up patient waits 11 hours for ambulance. And that was in Evenwood, which is by no means the most remote part of Teesdale. I myself have known people who have been victims of farm accidents and such like, and I am not qualified to say whether, a limb would have been lost or a life would have been lost if there had been another 20 minutes had been added on, but it certainly wouldn't have helped. I think the point has been made about the performance of NIAS, and I'd like to go into a little bit more detail on that. I would just observe, though, that if you move the emergency centre from here to North Tees, you actually move the centre of gravity of NIAS and where those ambulances are effectively based, because we start in Teesdale on a morning, theoretically, with an ambulance based in Barnard Castle, but if you ever trot up to the Memorial Hospital, you'll see routinely 3, 4, 5, I've seen 8, 9 ambulances parked up outside while they are trying to hand over their patients and get them checked into A&E. So effectively, you would end up with the ambulances parked up at North Tees, and then the ambulances will be responding from North Tees. So the whole locus of the NIAS activity moves down the road. I'd just like briefly, if I may, to read out someone's comments on this with her permission. Margaret Dent, who is a member of the Rural Ambulance Monitoring Group, a voluntary group which has put a huge amount of effort into ambulance performance monitoring. And she says, I'm very concerned that if all emergency maternity services migrate to Stockton and James Cook, we do not have a robust clinical ambulance service to respond and transport rural patients in a timely and safe manner, let alone poor residents as far away as Hawes. There is a growing body of evidence of extended waits for patients with life-threatening conditions. 11 hours and waiting is the worst I've heard, as reported in the Mercury. First responder and retained firefighters, and we use retained firefighters up in Middleton and Teesdale as first responders, are waiting for an hour with very poorly patients before a clinical response arrives. Then the patient faces a long journey to James Cook or Durham. 4 retained firefighters are required to report before the tender can leave the fire station to respond to the patient. I feel we need to have incontrovertible evidence of an appropriate and robust emergency service before any decisions on STP are made. We are 1 year on from the skills mix changes and no nearer to obtaining rural response figures for any of DDES. Therefore, we draw our own conclusions. If they can't deliver on that promise, why should we have any confidence in any other of their plans and promises? And I should add that health scrutiny at Durham repeatedly holds to account, or tries to hold to account, the North East Ambulance Service through the Durham Dales, Easington and Sedgefield Clinical Commissioning Group. That's a mouthful. And we struggle to get performance data out that enables you to actually pinpoint performance in a meaningful way by locality. So in conclusion, Chairman, I would say that for the people that I represent and for the safety of people I represent in Teesdale, full 24/7 emergency services must be retained at Darlington Hospital. Thank you.